Hello everyone, this is Adrian from the Sound of Accra podcast. If this is your first time listening, this is a show we speak with top Ghanaian founders, entrepreneurs and creatives worldwide. And the aim simply is to leave behind all the listeners meaningful takeaways that they can apply into their personal lives, into their businesses, or even into their professional careers. In this episode, we are simply going to pull from previous episodes some of the best pieces of advice that I've received or I've learned from previous guests that have featured on episodes throughout this year in 2024. So if you're a creator, you're an entrepreneur, or you're a professional with a side hustle, or even a professional with a career that wants to grow in their career, this is the episode that you want to listen to. So as we take all of the best pieces of advice from previous guests who have come on the podcast this year. So that's all from me. I'm going to leave you to the guests. I'm going to leave you to the interviews. I hope you guys enjoy this compilation episode. If you like more of this, let us know in the comments. Enjoy. Take care. And you mentioned COVID. Let's go there. I mean, I believe you were in a BBC interview a few years ago talking about COVID and the impact on Africa or Ghana. How have you seen kind of like COVID impact the continent and the country, and how have like enterprises and entrepreneurs responded to COVID, or pivoted, or kind of brought themselves out of, the pandemic?
I think we definitely see a shift to digital. A lot more people are very familiar with like digital solutions tools. So that's been great to see more people embracing digital. It makes them a lot more efficient and open to other solutions and services, right? So I think that's been good. I still feel we've missed the boat in terms of production locally, but it's very difficult to produce locally. I mean, the cost of production is very high. So I can see why that's still been a problem, but I still feel there's potential to add value to what we have locally and maybe replace some of the things that we import currently.
Yeah.
So I think that's still an opportunity that people can still look at and take advantage of.
Yeah,
if they get it right.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I'm excited to see a lot more local like businesses pop up because I feel like we don't have enough of them, and we kind of import so much. We do import so much. I mean, how are you importing tinned tomatoes? Right?
I know.
When we got tomatoes in particular, so I don't get that. Yeah. So I think hopefully we do get to see a lot more of that.
We've done quite a bit of training actually of women in agribusiness to help them, to show them what technologies are available to dry their fruits, right? Or preserve their fruits or can them. Like, you produce something, just can it, There's so many technologies now that are quite accessible. Yeah. And we have some interesting institutes, like where we have a food research institute that nobody ever uses apart from people coming in from abroad. But fantastic resource. Like if you want to produce something, there's so many technologies and there's so much local knowledge that you could tap into by just visiting a local office. People don't really know about these things. So there's a lot of potential, but it's just really about, again, sometimes information is not really readily available. So it's really, again, about connecting those dots and figuring out what's available.
And people being aware of it, maybe the government making people more aware of these resources.
Yeah, that could be a simple way. No hanging fruit.
Yeah, something that we do need to solve.
Now, when we launched Shaq Express, the first 2 years we were running a campaign, and that campaign was that when you see a Shaq Express driver who is standing in the traffic light, we started that campaign way before anybody thought about it, because there was this stigma and mindset and perception about dispatch riders that we needed to fix, right? Because we wanted to be the pacemakers, we wanted to change the way delivery, and we actually did. Today, you don't see so many dispatch riders jumping red light, because majority of those who are standing by the red light now are either reporters of Shaq Express, or now they've seen Shaq Express and do it. So what we used to do was that when a customer takes a picture of a Shaq Express rider in traffic, observing the traffic regulations, like standing by red light, and send it to us, we reward both the customer and the rider.
Wow.
So we give the customer free deliveries.
Yeah.
And at the end of the week, we give the rider a reward for observing that.
Wow.
We ran that for 2 years consistently. That now it's become a culture in Shaq Express.
Wow. It's like an incentive. So the incentive helped to kind of lay a culture.
And I still have pictures of customers sending to us, taking pictures and videos of them, and then praising them. Some went all the way to social media to praise us and praise the rider for observing red light.
Oh, because is that a common thing? Riders just go through the red light?
Before, it was a common thing.
Wow.
now it's better because of one, the police effort in trying to reduce. So they have cameras
so
around.
the government's getting involved in it.
Yes, the government is involved. The IGP is heavily involved.
What does IGP stand for those who don't know?
Oh, this question asked me. The police.
The police. Okay.
Yeah. So
essentially.
so he got involved.
Okay.
There are a lot of policemen around on motorbikes at the traffic areas, key areas. There are cameras at certain areas, and these people are always monitoring to make sure these riders don't do that. But before the IGP did this, we were taking precautions, or we were putting measures or deployed a campaign to make sure that these guys don't do what they are doing.
You were ahead of the game.
We're ahead. Because then we wanted to reduce the risk of destroying the packages, the risk of accidents, so many things that involves that, right? Because that way it doesn't increase your cost of operations, right? And we also cared about our riders. Our customers are not just the end users, the users, but our riders and our staff are also part of our customers. So we need to make sure that these guys are properly taken care of, that kind of thing. So, I mean, the campaign worked, and now there's this culture in Shaq Express that if you jump a red light, you are either punished or you're out of the business.
Yeah, of course. Because it's severe.
It's a severe.
It can lead to anything. I mean, I just told you.
We don't tolerate it. We have actually allowed police to take some of the riders to court.
Wow.
Yeah,
because you don't know what that can be a danger to their life and to others.
So when a policeman calls us and he says, there's some things that is not a mere misdemeanor. We don't tolerate those things. We will tell you, okay, please process this rider. We'll let the police do their job and work. And we always work with them. So you can ask the police station. They'll tell us Shaq Express we're always working with them.
Wow.
We work with the police because we need to make sure we are.
That's the level you've got to.
Yeah, that's the level we've got to.
Side by side with the police.
Yeah, we work with the police.
Incredible.
Yeah. And if you go to any of the police stations, they'll tell you this.
Okay, I just walk up to a police station. Do you know Shaq Express?
They'll tell you they know Shaq Express. Sometimes I go there myself personally to tell them that, okay, all right, okay, let's do what we need to do.
Yeah. Wow. You can even train the police. You could open Shaq driving school. Like, this is marvelous.
And that simple action sends a strong message to that rider.
Yeah.
That the company will not allow you to do the things you're doing. So if you misbehave, you follow the due course or the due process you're supposed to go through. So when it got this message clear, my father-in-law is a retired DCOP. So I mean, I need to make sure that his son-in-law's business is very compliant, and we are doing what the law expects us to do. So he's a good man, and he's well known in the police force, and so. You don't also want to do anything that is contrary to the good job he's done for the country.
Of course.
Right?
You want to kind of honor that reputation. That
exactly. You want to uphold that reputation.
Makes you feel good, right?
It makes me feel, because if I go there and I tell them my father-in-law is DCOP, retired Dr. Owusu-Ansah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's powerful. And know the man because of the job he's done. So they are not surprised when I also tell them, you know what, let's follow the due course. Right? Because then that's the right way to go. And so that's what we've done this for years, and it's now become a culture in Shaq Express where the riders are always compliant. They follow the rules and regulations. They ride carefully, and they make sure that they deliver the package, most importantly, safely and reliably.
Anthony, you're doing amazing work in so many industries. You're changing the way people drive in Ghana. You're changing the way e-commerce delivery apps are used in Ghana. You're changing the way customer service is done, logistics. You're changing families, you're changing so much. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for our country, and thank you for how you impact in all these different industries at so many different points. I mean, we could have another conversation maybe another time and go into other bits of Shaq Express. Yeah. What's been your kind of secret in terms of like, as a content creator? I mean, you're clearly got it in terms of like socials and your following. What's been not a secret, but what's been kind of like the key kind of principles you've kind of stuck by that's helped you to kind of grow your following, your reach, and your platforms?
Right. So my content, if you aren't aware, is more so vlogs. mainly. So, vlogs are essentially following me around in my day-to-day life, right? So it's not like a production per se, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just being myself and doing what I'd normally do. So I think what is most important is being authentic. And we hear that over and over again in this type of, these types of scenarios. So I just try to be myself and try to take it easy.
Yeah.
And I try to be, truthful, because people also enjoy, seeing the real side of me or whoever they follow, right?
Yeah.
So I just try to be authentic, and I think that's what people are drawn to, because they can relate to me, right? Like they can relate to my messy hair, or they can relate to, grocery shopping. It sounds really trivial, but those are things that most normal people participate in, right? So I think that's a factor as well.
That's
so
beautiful.
If you're going to be an influencer or anything in that realm, I think being authentic is definitely the number one thing to try to do. And as well, when you aren't authentic, you can't keep it up, right? If you're not being yourself, how can you maintain not yourself? Do you get it?
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like living a lie, and eventually you'll get drained and you'll be tired of trying to keep up something that isn't true.
It's not sustainable,
It's
is it?
not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So just being yourself through and through. And I mean, even saying that, there are some things that I do want to improve upon or change about myself. So it's almost like bringing them on that journey with me to become a better version of myself. So it's not that I'm changing into someone else, but, as people evolve, right? So just a natural progression of life, and people like that. So all of that.
That's wonderful. I think you're right, because you see other creators in this space, at least maybe in Ghana, at least, like Miss Drew, Della. When you see their vlogs, they don't just share the highlights; they share the downs and the bad stuff that they go through.
Exactly.
And people can relate to that, and it's like you're going on a journey with them. And if it's just highs, it feels artificial. It doesn't really feel organic.
It doesn't resonate.
Yeah, because we look at some people's maybe Instagram profiles, and it just looks too perfect. Like you want to see people like with a chip in your eye in the morning, or that morning look. People want to see that, because if it's just too perfect, then it's like, people start to question, are you even real?
Right.
I guess it's that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And how long have you been vlogging for?
Well, I've been doing it for about 10 years now.
Consistency.
Yes. Well, at times I haven't been as consistent. It's been 10 years, so I've definitely had a moment or two where I've just, been to myself and haven't necessarily posted as often as I would.
Yeah.
And of course, during my pregnancy, I didn't actually post much at all.
Yeah.
And, that's understandable, because your body's changing. You're carrying a baby, you're tired, right? So I took a break at that time. But then I've also been posting since he's been born. So I've been working nonstop since he's been born, and it's catching up on me.
Well, congrats on being a mother. And you got another, kid to the family.
Right.
So Number three, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, congrats. Beautiful. And of course, doing all these things and being a parent isn't always easy. How do you kind of balance all that?
It's not easy. I don't know how I balance it, because I have a very dynamic range of children. My daughter is 15. My son is 11. And then I have a newborn. Those are 3 totally separate categories of stages of life, right? So you got the teenager transitioning into a young adult.
Yeah.
Then you got the boy who's transitioning into being a teen, but not quite. But he's not a baby anymore. He's not a kid anymore. And then I got a newborn baby that I'm talking goo goo gaga to. So, right? I got to learn 3 languages.
That's a lens. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think the baby brings us together in a way, of course, they all love each other, right? But there's just something about having someone to be responsible for. For my older kids, they enjoy being responsible and helping and being helpful and taking care of, a person. So I think that it brings us together as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and how's it impacted how you've had to organize or manage, content creation, entrepreneurship, and your partner and things like that, time with your partner?
Yeah, I'm just tired, man. I'm just tired. That's how I'm managing. I'm on like negative sleep. I'm even like sleep training him right now because he doesn't sleep so well throughout the night, and it's heartbreaking. Last night was the first night that the sleep training has begun. Essentially, you put them in the crib and ignore them. They scream their head off for like an hour, and you just have to let them do it.
It's painful. Was it painful?
It's painful
as a mother,
because
you got that deep down that
maternal instinct.
Exactly,
like,
instinct. That's what
my baby. So I had to let him cry it out. It did actually help him sleep a little bit longer, but like it was just so mean.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite something.
So I think when I get my sleep back, I'll be so amazing.
Yeah. One thing that I've spoken to previous guests about Rochelle is when they've maybe had a child or they have a kid, they have like a new kind of purpose or reason to kind of not live, but to kind of achieve something.
Oh yeah.
I had this one guest I interviewed. He owns this puzzle company, and his daughter's a co-CEO of him.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, and he's inspired to kind of like build this empire and hand over to her as generational wealth. Talking about the younger generation, of course, you've got kids, and of course they're probably going in school, and they're eventually going to start looking at what job they're going to go in, what business, career, etc. What does that look like for you? Because of course, maybe generational wealth is something you're going to build. And also, of course, you're raising kids here in Ghana. I mean, if you're from Canada, you probably had a different upbringing.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you in terms of what maybe the direction you want your kids to go in and the environments that they're in? Like, do you see them going to a certain field, or are you trying to push them into a certain field, or you let that kind of naturally take its place in the environments that they're in? If that makes sense.
So right now, I mean, there's a lot of people making money online, right? Whether it be drop shipping or white label selling products. There's this other one. I can't remember the name of it. It's going to come to me. What is it called? Affiliate marketing, right? So you got all these ways to make money online. And I personally don't know what fields are going to be left in terms of jobs that people can work at in the near coming future.
True.
With AI coming
scary,
up.
isn't it?
It's scary.
Yeah.
Definitely scary. I was looking at a video, AI is running a McDonald's. There's no humans in a McDonald's somewhere in the States.
That's
it's
crazy.
an AI operated McDonald's.
That's crazy.
No humans.
Yeah.
Right?
I think Amazon Fresh is almost up there.
Right. Amazon Fresh, right?
Yeah.
So it's getting there. And I just don't see where people are going to go to school like we used to and work. And even in Toronto, the Uber drivers, they're all doctors from other countries. It's true, right? You get a lot of people driving Uber with master's degrees or whatever. They can't get a job. There's no jobs.
Yeah.
They're doing Uber.
So you have to create your own job,
right.
Isn't it?
So imagine you spend all this money getting an education.
Yeah.
And you got to pay that money back.
I know, right?
And you're not even working in the field you expected to be working in because, you know what I mean? So, that being said, I do actively challenge my children right now to dabble in this online world of making money, right? And they're smart and like, I don't know how to use a computer as well as my children, okay? I asked them like, Naomi, can you show me how to use this app? Like they're telling me how to use it. Like, no, Mom, this is what you do. And I'm like, damn. So I don't see why they can't figure out how to make a website.
Yeah.
How to code, like, how to do social media marketing and all that type of stuff. Make an Instagram and sell something. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely more on the side of that they'll be entrepreneurs and it's just unlikely they'll work somewhere like that. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. I mean, I guess that comes from your experience as well.
That comes from my experience. And yeah, I just think entrepreneurship is just the way to go. You know, I like school for the purposes of discipline, of waking up early, getting your stuff together, doing tasks like you get homework, you finish the homework, you return it. So those are healthy habits that to me is all school is good for. You know what I mean? So they do have to go to school for that. But I mean, and even like I think about how much pressure. The Black community, not the Black, what should I say? Like our parents coming from other countries, coming to the West, they put such high value in school. But if you say you're doing something entrepreneurial, it's just so foreign to them.
Yeah.
And they don't get it, and they don't like it, you know?
Because they're so used to like the traditional
go to school,
roots.
be doctor, lawyer, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So when you're doing an entrepreneur, something like that, they don't get it and they don't feel comfortable about it.
Yeah.
You know, when I first told when I was doing YouTube, my parents were like, what? YouTube? Right? So it just doesn't feel, they don't have a sense of pride to call their friends and tell them, yes, my daughter's a YouTuber. You know, it doesn't sound as good as my daughter's a doctor.
I know, right? Yeah. But the ironic thing is that some of these creators can make more money than the doctor. But it's not always necessarily about money.
It is,
But
But
I mean,
but we know that for sure. But parents just can't accept that they're telling everyone, my daughter's a YouTuber. What the hell is that? So for a while, I feel like my parents wished they could tell their friends, my daughter's a doctor. You know, it's the easier explanation.
It is easy.
But how do people understand a YouTuber? Right?
Yeah, I totally can relate because I didn't just do business management at university. Many years ago, I did music technology. So I used to be like a music producer. And my parents didn't understand. But then down the line, when I started to win all these awards and start to perform at different places, then they were like, okay, we get it now.
Right. It took them a while.
Yeah. And the radio thing as well. So yeah, definitely get it. Rochelle, it's been an amazing conversation. I've enjoyed speaking to you. What would you give in terms of tips for people that maybe they have personal brands or they're content creators or they're entrepreneurs and maybe they want to do it in an environment like Ghana, Africa, or maybe they're out there in the States, in the UK or Europe. What kind of general tips would you give to them?
Go for it. It seems like such a simple concept, but you know, we spend a lot of time thinking about doing it but all that time wasted thinking you could be doing it, you know? So what do they say? Fail forward. You're not going to get it right on the first try, right? And it just sounds so simple, but don't give up. Don't give up. You have to do it. I always say that if you're going to create content, especially content creation, if you're going to create content, right? Do it as though no one's ever going to watch it, right? So can you create this content and do it to the best of your ability with 0 views? Right? You never will be tired of it if it's something you genuinely want to do and something you genuinely love or you're genuinely interested in. If no one's watching, you don't regret creating the content, right? So find something to do where it just is natural to you. That's what I'd say.
That's powerful advice.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of the best content creators, they've been creating when they had like 0 following and 0 views. And they kept creating. And what they create, they love it, right? So they weren't discouraged at the fact that no one was watching. Who cares? They still loved that content and they still created it. And now a lot of them are, you know, super successful.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you focus on, you know, the passion and why you did it in the first place. And that should kind of get you through tough moments when maybe you don't have all the views or maybe when you're not even monetized or when no one's listening to you. I mean, same thing with podcasting, you know, most people can't get past 7 podcasts. They give up a few. Yeah. So you have to keep persevering. Very good advice. How do you talked about your inspiration. You talked about some, you know, figures that are doing great, you know, the Virgils, you know, what else? I mean, other people that you mentioned as well. I mean, all of these amazing, great people, you know, in the fashion space. How do you kind of continue to innovate and inspire yourself to continue to create something new? Because innovation, I think, is a very important thing in fashion, right?
So we keep learning. I'll be honest. We keep learning. The kind of volume of content I consume from the internet and social media will be amazed. Sometimes I'm awake at 1 a.m. tossing in bed, and the next thing I'm on the page looking at what people are producing. What can we do different? You know, fashion is. Sometimes you walk into a shop and there's a look and feel. You go to Mangoes, it looks like Banana Republic. You go to Banana. So how do we sort of not fall behind when it comes to what we produce? So what inspires me or pushes me forward for me is what the future holds. Like I said, the future is what we've created now and what the next generation will carry forward. I watched a movie recently. It's called The House of Gucci. You should watch that movie.
House of Gucci.
House of Gucci, yeah. is a piece of the Gucci story. How Succession failed at Gucci.
Yeah.
But the brand didn't fail. I don't know whether you understand. Succession failed at a point with the brand, according to the movie. But the brand still stands.
Okay.
So the owner, according to the movie, the founder had passed, had two sons. One was handling the business, the other was just a shareholder. They needed to pass it on to the next generation. A lot happened. The guy that took over from the business lost a focus on the brand that needs to be built. And he unfortunately had to sell 100% shares to a partner that came along. So as it stands now, there isn't a Gucci family member that is a shareholder of Gucci.
That's sad.
You understand? So
that's sad.
If you're going to learn anything from that, it's not what we are doing now, but it's the next
generation.
Next years.
Yeah.
Because if you are talking 2-3 generations after now, you're talking probably 150 years to 200 years. Where would the brand be? We are not focused on how much we're going to collect from customers now. We are focused on where the brand will be.
Because that's short-term thinking, isn't it? It's going to be long-term thinking.
Exactly. I went for a show in Vegas last week. I think I told you about it. And it is the biggest fashion event in the world. It's called Sourcing and Magic. You have all the manufacturers and the buyers in the fashion industry, all players coming to one event to showcase their stuff and to connect and all of that. Now, the number of people that came to our booth to see us, the first thing they mentioned that they liked the brand, Black and Famous. So for me, that's the first thing we've gotten right, by the grace of God. The name.
Yeah.
You know, and the ethos of it and the fact that it's not just, people think it's just targeted at Black people. I said no. It's because of color and people without color to come and be part of this story.
Yeah.
Now, if you've gotten your name right, if you've gotten a name that feels as good as Tom Ford or Gucci or Louis Vuitton, how do you capitalize on it? How do you turn it into the next biggest brand in Africa? You don't just talk it away. It's something that you want to leave it out and leave it to the next generation. That is for me what this inspires me. How do I make sure that as we do this, and we do it for the next 100, 150, 200 years, the name will still be there. And this podcast will be looked at as, so that is the story behind the brand. And that's the vision we had for the brand. I think that's what inspires me.
That's incredible. How do you plan to pass on what you're doing to the next generation, whether it's teaching them the same skill sets or maybe passing on generational wealth, etc., or maybe opening doors that help people to go into this field? How do you plan on doing that?
So for me, it's building the structures of the brand. Well, I mean, back to the movie, there was a guy that was dedicated to keeping the brand identity, the brand ethos. So he was called the conservative or the conservationist or something like that, director of the brand in the movie. And his job is to make sure that the brand doesn't move away from why it was set up and what it's supposed to deliver.
Wow.
So you can pass money to the next generation, but they will squander it or they'll blow it. But if you build a strong structure, no one can take the structure away because everything is laid out from beginning to end. And one of the things that I suffer from is I don't say much, so I have a lot of things stuck in my head. So one of the things I'm working on now is to get the whole team, okay, including my wife who's a partner, to sort of write everything that we want to do down.
Yeah.
And we follow it. You have a 10-year plan. The 10-year plan might not go to plan, but at least it's a plan. So if it's not done in 10 years, it's done in 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
It was still a plan that is being followed. So what is driving all of this is where we are moving towards. African Apparel has come to stay, but you need to evolve. You cannot continuously do African Apparel from Africa and go global. Because Africans will always like African Apparel. But with the whites like African Apparel too, what can we offer them from Africa that still looks like what they have?
Yeah.
That can still bring us commercial value.
Yeah. That's why you guys...
I don't know whether I'm making sense.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. You probably want to be in those conversations, because that's how one way you can probably get your brand to go global, properly global, and be in these stores wherever you go. I can go in a store in Dubai and find Black and Famous in a store over there.
Exactly.
That's what you want.
I believe that, when each of us is born, when each of us is given an opportunity to life, an opportunity, the breath of life, when you wake up, there's a certain thankfulness, to the Almighty for the gift of life. But the gift of life is also about what you do, what kind of legacy do you intend to use that life for? What kind of impact do you use that life? Life is not about, coming in and walking around and, and then exiting without contributing to, the creativity of creation, So for me, I feel that that's the core definition of my intention to focus also on activism, is that, I have the gift of song, the gift of music, the gift of our ability to also talk to people, not about, how special they are, but also the power of God that is in them, the importance to also embrace, an idea of humanity too, that is just beyond they themselves as individuals, and I feel that that is the fundamental to all of us being able to live harmoniously together. But for me, I also recognize at a very early time in my career too, that to also articulate, there's a difference between being able to articulate those ideas and then also being able to make them real impact in the real world. Because we live, ideals and ideas are great, but to be able to transform those ideas into soul, that led to also my belief too that I have to find, organizations and individuals and systems that also share the same vision that I have, and then leveraging my impact to and my belief to be able to work together to make these happen.
Okay.
So those were the things that kind of now, I started engagement with a lot of organizations, and
So that's how that came about.
Yes, that's how that came about.
And did they come to you, or did you more like, I've got this great idea?
No, it came to me because I was that's what I represented.
Yeah.
And I was doing so organizations, all of a sudden I remember one of the even earliest mission success that we did was actually with the guinea worm eradication initiative that was going on in Ghana.
Yeah.
It was the Carter Center, UNICEF and a whole lot of organizations who were working on it. So at a point they came to talk to me about, they were like, you're from the North, we need somebody to really help us in terms of not only trying to eradicate this issue, but also going into the communities and starting an advocacy within the communities for people to make choices in terms of, the water sources, because they were trying to go to the roots of the problem. So we had to, kind of advocate for clean water initiatives from people who are drilling wells, organizations who are drilling wells, and government, and at the same time to the communities, about making sure that when you go and fetch water, even in an area during like the dry season, the processes that you need to go through to make sure that water was potable enough and all of that. So we went on the ground. And what I was doing too was that I also brought a lot of musicians along, because I was like, many musicians who had a platform but were not using it for anything. I brought them along. So I would take them. We went on a mission in the North, different villages, meeting communities, talking to chiefs, talking to leaders, working on music together, all of this stuff. So this was stuff that we were doing. And then at that time too, I had a big festival Independence Day Festival.
Wow.
So the festival was also used as the platform too, to advocate for this.
Yeah.
Then, I started working with the UN Global Fund. Approached me because they were working. Bono was doing the whole One initiative and all of that, and they were doing HIV/AIDS initiatives in terms of trying to get cheap medication and all of that kind of stuff.
And they had like these iPods or iPhone, the red.
Yeah. That was all of that. So I was engaged to be one of the main voices for that.
It's
and
incredible.
then even through our advocacy, the first funding for Ghana AIDS Commission got like a big funding from the UN Global Fund at that time. For one of the funding from the organization came to, Ghana AIDS Commission, and I also came down, went on the ground, met people, and advocated. So that was how I dealt with things, even when it came to peace building, I collaborated with an organization out of Rwanda, Aegis Trust, to go into Rwanda and travel all around and go and learn the root causes of the genocide there, meet community leaders, work in peace building ideas with, various partners down there in order to push the idea of peace among Africans and also elevation of, the identity of Africa, So that's how I operate, and then with the environmental initiatives too, right now also championing the Regreening Africa initiative that UNEP is putting together, to restore, thousands of, hectares of land, reclaim land, also encourage organic agriculture, sustainability, protection of biodiversity, empowerment of women, inspiring youth. All of these are ideas that I believe, for me, it's more about upholding the greater good in us. So it defines the umbrella of as an activist. I don't go into activism because, you're a UN Goodwill Ambassador, or you're that kind of stuff. Those are all they're just titles for people to obey the mission of what you represent. But the long run is all part of what I see as my mission as a person and an artist and also a citizen of the world, doing my due diligence and also my belief in God as to what I need to use my life for.
That's powerful.
That's impacting.
That's powerful, Rocky.
Yeah.
In the midst of all of this, advocating, fundraising, rallying up other artists, raising awareness, collaborating with organizations, with other communities. What's the main thing? I know your mission encompasses so many different things, but what's the main thing that keeps you up at night in terms of Africa? Because Africa, there's so many things that we need to work on.
Yes.
Infrastructure to the politics, the governments. To solving the labor.
Yes.
What's the one thing that what's one? I know it might be a hard question to answer, but is there?
I think it's simple. I think the bottom end of it is, they said, Africa needs to awaken. You see, when all of these things can be solved when you have a people whose consciousness is awakened as to who they are and where they're going. Once we have that, it will transform everything.
It will unlock everything else.
It will unlock everything. Because, you need to have capital to make a lot of this when you look at the construct of, let's say, an economic model that's based on capitalism. But human capital is actually the real capital. If you wake your people up and say they want to transform the continent, everybody says today, this is Africa we want. We are all going to work together to build this continent. We are all going to go, if it's roads, okay, we'll go and we make it happen with the human capital because we all work together for the greater good of all of us.
Yeah.
If we change that mindset, we will transform everything. So it's all a mindset change.
Yeah.
But if we have been programmed through colonial education and also, subscribing to, the religious concept of constantly waiting for a better life when you die, that's really a fallacy because God will never give us life if life is about waiting to die to go and find that life.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So focusing that this is our time, this is our opportunity, and we need to awaken, we need to work together for us.
Yeah.
If that changes, it changes everything. Everything else, then it's like, okay, economic opportunity, all of this, we work together. African leaders work together. And if you're working towards something that is a greater good, self-service goes to the back because you know that in the long run, when the ecosystem as a friend told me,
Yeah.
why will you fight each other to get a loaf of bread when you can build an oven together and everybody can get a loaf of bread whenever they need it?
It's just incredible. I love quotes like this, and I think Africans aside, I think as Black people, at least what I see in the West,
yes,
we're quite kind of selfish, or kind of like we try and do things for ourselves, but we're not trying to collaborate. You see the Asians,
yes,
how they build their wealth together.
Yes,
the Jewish communities.
Yes.
We do need to see a lot more of that.
No, we need to see a lot more of that. But you see, that's why I'm saying that the first thing to get over is the mindset, because our mindset has been programmed for a long time. And what we have to understand that we're one of the races that has been enslaved, that has been colonized, that is still is still the pawn of neo-colonization. Any major power that is coming here, it's not coming here, if it's collaborative. Collaborative is about owning the narrative. So everybody that's coming here is looking at winning. So when they look at winning, that means that they have to play the game better than you do. So if you are only in the game just playing and not understanding that even if you have partnerships, you have to know that the partnership is looking for advantages. So we need to get out of that whole thing and start looking at how we work for we first.
Yeah.
If we work for we, then we can be able to also, on equal terms, be able to engage. I mean, we only have to look at the headline and see that who among the people of the world will find resources, and then others will come in. And then you, the one who owns the resources, get the littlest percentage of the resources when it was found in your own ground.
Yeah.
I mean, we have mineral rights. We are the most, but all the deals that our leadership is doing, we are always the last in the deals. What kind of mindset or educational system programmed us to look at that and say that is all right?
No, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
We're understanding ourselves. Look at cocoa, bauxite, gold, all of these different...
Those are leverages.
Yeah.
And if they're leveraging, and imagine when you leverage that even and quantify that as holdings. If you quantify that as holdings, that means you are richer than everybody. So if you have that as holdings, why will gold that is extracted from the ground be used as a platform for currency to be strong? What of the gold that is in the ground? Why can't you, if we had the upper hand, we will quantify that as wealth. And in economics, use that as, this is the resources that we have. We are leveraging that for this, for you to bring us that because we have that is in the ground. But the extractive aspect of it has become more valuable than the ones that own it, And I think that we just need to look at the educational system and know that we have been programmed to feel a certain way about ourselves. We have been programmed to see what wealth is. Wealth is the land that we've been given. And I think that God gave us everything that we need. And we have spent so much time, and others have spent so much time to blind us from seeing what we have. And I think that's why we need to look at, the religions that we follow, this education that we follow, the media that we consume from outside, and see that all of it is meant to keep our mindset in that space so that we never rise beyond who we are. Because we only have to look at history and see that we were enslaved, we were colonized. So if we are engaging the same entities, they're not coming here for our betterment. They're coming here to keep our mindset still in that space. But it's none but we ourselves can be able to rise beyond that. So if we're envisaging a new Africa, the new Africa has to first be in terms of changing our mindset. Changing our mindset and like the little competitiveness. Tribal competitiveness. You go even here, some business that the right person is there. Somebody will be like, oh, Oyedebe, who is it? What tribe does he belong in? And all of a sudden, it's more about a tribal thing. We
get caught up in more meaningful things.
Exactly. The prime directive, we've lost the path of the prime directive and fighting over things that are not important to our collective, define our collective purpose and define our collective vision to be able to rise beyond the challenges. The challenges that we have will dissipate when we change our mindset. It's the way we view the world that has really brought that's why we go to somebody to go and borrow money when we are sitting on wealth. So we need to, and this is the time, and this is the time for us to do that.
We shouldn't be going to the IMF and things like that.
No. We are far too blessed with too many human capital, first of all, which is one of the most valuable things.
I had a guest that said the same thing.
And then we also have the economic capital too that is there.